Okay, so my name's Evelyn Reed. I'm like 35, and I run this small cybersecurity consulting gig called Phoenix Protect. Sounds pretty dramatic, right? Like we're gonna rise from the ashes or something? Truth is, it's just my bread and butter these days. And yeah, that name, Phoenix, it's been haunting me every single damn day for the past 5 years. 5 years. 5 years since that night. I still remember it like it was yesterday, even though some parts are hazy. David, my co-founder, he ended it right there in the office after our big company, our startup, crumbled to dust because of a massive data leak. The cops, they called it suicide, and I believed them. I had to. He crumbled under the pressure, the guilt. I saw him, or I saw something, and I was the one who locked down the systems, tried to save what was left. That's my truth. It's a messed up truth, a painful one, but it's the only one I could hold on to keep going. My life now? It's just this endless loop. Coffee, code, meetings that make my brain feel like scrambled eggs. I pretty much live like a hermit, burying myself in work. It's my way of trying to make amends, or maybe just to shut up the guilt that keeps screaming in my head. I tell myself I'm rational, that I've got it all under control, even if sometimes my old confidence in my own brain power feels a bit faded, like a really old photograph. Honestly, it's just exhausting, this constant grind, this pretending to be okay. But I gotta survive, right? That's the mantra, just survive. Then Julian Vance walked into my life. Kid looked barely out of college, maybe 22, hair all over the place, thick glasses perched on his nose. First impression? Total nerd, probably good with theories, but lost in the real world. I remember thinking, this kid's gonna be a pain in my ass. I threw him a curveball during the interview, a complex piece of code with a hidden bug tucked away on a test machine, something I'd spent hours on, making sure it was just hard enough. He sat down, quiet, looked at the screen, and then, blink, he was done, fixed it, in a few seconds. My jaw probably hit the floor. Seriously, my brain just went, what the actual hell? I had to admit it, I was surprised, like really surprised. He started a few days later, and let me tell you, Julian was something else. He'd point out errors I'd completely overlooked, bugs that had been chilling in our system for months, maybe years, and I'd just blanket him. He'd optimize processes I thought were already perfect. Like, seriously, I'm the cyber whiz here, remember? Or at least I used to be. He had this habit, too. He'd mumble stuff under his breath. Things like, this system error, it shouldn't even exist since 2018. Or, someone really tried to hide some data here, didn't they? I'd just wave it off, thinking he was trying too hard to impress me, showing off his deep dives into our system's history. Like, chill, kid, you're new here. But every time, a little something in my gut would clench. Just a tiny squeeze. Then came the first real flicker. A Tuesday afternoon, I think. I walked back to my desk after grabbing another crappy coffee, and there it was. A crumpled piece of paper, just sitting there on my keyboard. Julian wasn't around. On it, a triangle, sketched really messily. And below it, scribbled in what looked like his handwriting, Project Shadowlock 2018. My breath hitched. Shadowlock. That was the emergency lockdown tool. Our tool. Mine and David's. Nobody else knew that name. Not outside our inner circle back then. I picked up the paper. My fingers felt a bit numb. A cold sensation started creeping up my spine, like someone had just dropped an ice cube down my shirt. I stared at the note, then crumpled it into a tight ball. Probably just saw it online somewhere, I muttered to myself, trying to sound convincing. Kids these days, always Googling stuff, trying to look smart. I tossed the paper into the trash bin. My heart, though, it didn't quite settle down. Later that night, I was, as usual, working late. The office was quiet, just the hum of the servers and the distant city noises. I was poring over some old reports from that hack, the one that destroyed everything, trying to find, I don't even know what. Maybe just trying to relive the pain, I guess. Julian was still around. He often stayed late too, lost in his own world of code. He walked past my desk, slow, almost deliberate. He glanced at my screen. My fingers froze on the keyboard. He just kept walking, then stopped by the server room entrance. His voice, when it came, was so damn casual, so innocent. "Trouble, huh, Evelyn?" he said, his back to me. "Looks like someone went to a lot of effort to wipe all the security camera log files that night. Right, Evelyn?" My blood ran cold, my heart hammered against my ribs, a wild drum solo in my chest. What the actual hell? How? How did he know that? That information was buried so deep, so compartmentalized. It was never released to the public. Never. Even the police reports were vague about the camera footage, just saying it was corrupted. I spun around in my chair, a jolt running through me. "What did you just say?" I demanded, my voice coming out harsher than I intended. But he was gone, disappeared into the server room. Just the soft, rhythmic whirring of the machines was left, echoing in the sudden silence. My head was spinning, like a damn carousel out of control. My hands were shaking. I couldn't control them. I pressed my palms together, squeezed them tight, but the tremors still ran through my fingers. It wasn't just that. There were other times, moments when I'd catch his eye. Not the naive, slightly awkward gaze you'd expect from a kid his age. No, this was sharp, piercing, like he was looking right through me, peeling back layers, reading every messed up thought in my head. A shiver would crawl up my arms, raising goosebumps. I'd quickly look away, pretending to be busy, trying to find a perfectly rational explanation for the feeling. "Just my paranoia, Evelyn," I'd whisper to myself. "Too much coffee, too many late nights." But the feeling lingered, a cold, heavy weight settling deep in my gut, like something was off, really off. And no matter how hard I tried to push it down, to tell myself I was just tired, just stressed, it stayed there, watching, waiting. My world, the one I'd so carefully built on my version of the truth, suddenly felt wobbly, like a house of cards in a soft breeze. Okay, so those accidents Julian kept having, they stopped being cute, or accidental. My brain was just spinning, like a broken record stuck on repeat, trying to make sense of things that, let's be real, didn't make any damn sense. I mean, my whole thing, my entire brand, was being smart, being the sharpest tool in the shed. A cyber whiz, remember? But now, every time Julian did something, I felt this tiny crack appear in my confidence. Not just a crack, more like a spider web spreading, making me question every single decision I'd ever made, every line of code I'd ever written. Was I really that good? Or was it just a fluke? Or worse, was I just getting old, my brain turning to mush? Sleep became a total myth, seriously. I'd just lie there, staring at the ceiling, the dark pressing down around me, replaying every weird thing he'd said, every little mistake he'd pointed out. My head was buzzing, a constant hum of doubt. I tried to look him up, too. You know, just a quick background check, standard stuff, nothing creepy, just due diligence. But it was like he popped out of nowhere. Clean slate. No digital footprint worth a damn before I hired him. No old college projects, no weird forum posts, no embarrassing high school photos. Just nothing. Like he was never actually, existing before. Or maybe, like someone had meticulously erased him. That thought made a cold knot tighten in my gut. It freaked me out. Just a little. A lot, actually. And then the memories about David, about that night. They used to be like a solid block in my head, a perfectly constructed narrative, however messed up. Painful, yeah, but solid. Now they were starting to crumble. Bits and pieces would just float up like dust motes in a sunbeam, catching my eye. I remembered finding him, yeah, the shock, the cold floor. But then there was this other thing, a shadow, a darker shape in the periphery of my mind's eye. Tall, silent, a weird sound too, like a hiss or a whisper, but not from David. It was too soft, too close. I'd shake my head hard until my teeth rattled. No, Evelyn, I'd tell myself, my voice raspy in the quiet of my apartment, sounding foreign even to my own ears. But the harder I tried to push it back, the more it clung. Like something wet and cold, refusing to let go. The accidents kept piling up. Like, seriously, this kid was either the clumsiest genius ever, or something else, something really damn unsettling. One afternoon, Julian was fixing an old config file, said it was acting weird, causing some network jitters. I just shrugged, figured he was optimizing again, doing his usual wizardry. But later, when he'd gone for lunch, I got curious. My gut was telling me to poke around. I pulled up the file, just to see what he'd tweaked, and there it was. Not just a tweak, not a simple bug fix. Tucked away, almost invisible, was this tiny, almost innocent-looking string of code. An old network ID. I knew that ID. It wasn't ours. Not our old company, not Phoenix Protect, not any of our client servers. It was from a remote server, a very specific, very secure remote server that David and I had used for testing back in the day. A server that shouldn't have any connection to our current systems. My stomach dropped. How? How the hell did that get there? What was it even doing? Shit. This wasn't an accident. This was intentional. It was like a breadcrumb left just for me to find. Then, one evening, I was about to head out, but my phone rang. A client emergency. Always a client emergency. I sighed, turned back to my desk, trying to mentally prepare for another late night. Julian was still there, hunched over his computer, his thick glasses glinting in the dim office light. He got up to grab a drink, left his screen on. My eyes, they just kind of drifted. And then they locked, on his screen. He was looking at a backup. Not just a backup, but a full, deep internal data archive from 2018, the year everything went south. The kind of backup I thought had been permanently nuked, wiped from existence. The kind that held everything, every secret, every messed up detail. My breath hitched in my throat. This was way, way beyond fixing a corrupt file. This was digging. Deep. He came back, a bottle of water in his hand, a completely innocent smile plastered on his face. He caught me staring at his screen. My heart was pounding, thumping against my ribs like it wanted to break free. It felt like I'd just run a marathon. "What are you looking at, Julian?" I asked, my voice coming out thin, like brittle glass, barely a whisper. He just blinked, then looked at his screen, then back at me, that same unsettlingly innocent grin. "Oh, this? Just a corrupt backup," he said, shrugging slightly, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "I'm trying to recover it. But you know, Evelyn, someone really encrypted this thing well. Like they wanted to hide something very important. Like a memory, right, Evelyn?" His eyes, they suddenly weren't innocent anymore. They were gleaming, bright, sharp, like tiny, hungry spotlights cutting right through me. A shiver, colder than anything I'd ever felt, just shot straight down my spine, chilling me to my bones. My skin prickled, goosebumps rising all over my arms. What the hell was happening? What was he playing at? This kid, he knew. He knew too much. My brain started playing tricks on me, Or maybe it wasn't my brain. I don't even know anymore, honestly. It was messing with my head in ways I couldn't explain. I'd be typing, just doing my usual thing. Code, code, code. Lines of logic, familiar patterns, my fingers flying across the keys. And then, for a split second, the keyboard beneath my fingers, the familiar black keys with white letters, they'd just shift, morph, into lines of green binary code, scrolling and wriggling like worms on a screen. My fingers would feel them, the hard, cold plastic, but my eyes saw code, just for a blank, a terrifying, disorienting blank. Then it was gone, back to normal. Was I finally losing it? Was this what too much coffee and zero sleep did to a person? Hallucinations? It felt real, too real. My temples throbbed with a dull ache, a constant reminder of how frayed my nerves were. And Julian, he was everywhere, like a damn shadow, a creepy shadow that knew my thoughts. I'd just be thinking, hey, maybe I should check that old Project Chimera folder from way back, see if there's anything useful there. It was a super niche, almost forgotten archive, tucked away deep in an old server. And then, out of nowhere, Julian would just appear right next to my desk. Not walking over, not making a sound, just there, suddenly. "You looking for this?" he'd say, his voice soft, almost like he was whispering directly into my ear. And it was always that same innocent, unsettling smile, like he was playing a harmless game. He'd hold out a USB drive, a plain, black little thing, nothing special on the outside. But inside, the Project Chimera folder, the exact one. My heart did this weird flip-flop thing in my chest, a frantic butterfly trapped in a cage, beating against my ribs. I stared at the USB, then at him, then back at the USB. My hand reached out, slow, trembling. I couldn't stop it from shaking. It was like my body wasn't listening to my brain anymore. It had a mind of its own, reacting purely to fear. "What the hell, kid?" I thought, my mind screaming. "Are you a ghost? A damn mind reader? What are you?" My fingers felt like ice, even though the office was warm. It wasn't paranoia anymore. This was something else. Something really, really wrong. My world, the one I thought I had a grip on, was just dissolving, like sugar in hot water. And I had no idea how to stop it. Okay, so the last few days had been a blur. A really bad, messed up blur. I was pretty sure I was losing my mind, peace as agonizing peace. All those memories about David, about that night, the ones I'd built up like a fortress inside my head, they weren't just crumbling anymore. They were dissolving, like a cheap sugar cube in boiling water. Every single thing Julian had said, every accident he'd pulled, every hallucination that flashed across my vision, it was all twisting the knife deeper. My brain felt like a knot, tangled and tight, impossible to untie. I didn't trust anything. Not the floor beneath my feet, not the air I breathed, and definitely not the memories that had been my only anchors for 5 damn years. My whole reasonable explanation thing, the one I'd clung to like a drowning woman to a life raft, it was gone, smashed, totally obliterated. I needed to know. I needed the truth, whatever rotten, festering thing it might be. "Screw it," I muttered, my voice rough, tasting like rust and fear. My hands were shaking, a constant tremor I couldn't control, like a faulty circuit. I gripped the edge of my desk, white-knuckled, my nails digging into the cheap laminate. If I'm going down, I'm gonna know who pulled the damn trigger. I wasn't just scared anymore. There was this hot, burning core of pure, unadulterated rage building up, a fire in my gut that demanded answers. I couldn't run, couldn't hide, not from this. The server room. It always felt like a tomb, even with the constant hum of the machines and the cold recycled air. Tonight, it felt like a mausoleum for my sanity. I found Julian hunched over a rack, the blue glow of indicator lights reflecting off his thick glasses. He was doing something with a cable, his movements precise, almost surgical. He didn't even flinch when I walked in, didn't turn around. It was like he knew I was coming, like he'd been waiting. That only made the hackles on my neck stand up higher. "Julian," I said, my voice barely a whisper, but it cut through the hum. It still cracked, despite my best effort to sound tough. He slowly turned, that same innocent, slightly doofy smile pasted on his face. "Evelyn, everything all right?" My heart was doing a frantic drum solo against my ribs. My palms were slick, my breath catching in my throat. This was it, no turning back. "Don't play dumb with me, kid," I snapped, the words coming out sharper than I intended. "Who are you really? What the hell do you know about that night, about David? What are you doing to me?" My hands were still shaking, but now they were balled into fists, trembling with a mix of fury and desperate confusion. Every nerve ending felt raw, exposed. He just blinked. The smile didn't falter, not one bit. "Oh, Evelyn, I knew you'd come around." He stood up, turning fully to face me. He looked calm, too calm, like a pond before a storm. "You're looking for answers, right? The truth." He gestured vaguely at the racks of servers, the blinking lights. "It's all here, always has been." He walked over to a dusty corner, where an old, clunky monitor sat atop a forgotten server tower, its screen dark, sleeping. "I can show you everything." My gut twisted. Part of me screamed to run, to bolt for the door and never look back. But the other part, the furious, broken part, demanded to see, to know. My body felt heavy, rooted to the spot. I just stared at him, my mouth dry, my tongue felt like sandpaper. He tapped the monitor. Nothing. He pressed a few keys on a grimy keyboard, and with a faint flicker, the screen stuttered to life, displaying a login prompt. He quickly typed in a username and password, then hit enter. The hum of the room seemed to deepen, wrapping around me, pressing in. Lines of text started scrolling, a waterfall of data in a monochrome green, an old-school interface I hadn't seen in years. "This," Julian said, his voice flat, emotionless, like he was reading from a textbook, "is a full system log from Phoenix Protect, specifically the night of November 12, 2018. My blood ran cold. November 12, 2018? The date was a brand burned into my soul. I felt a cold clamp around my chest, squeezing the air out of my lungs. My eyes were glued to the screen, watching the blur of dates and times. Every second that passed felt like an hour. My vision tunneled, the edges of the room fading into a blurry haze. Only the screen existed. Julian scrolled, his finger moving slowly, deliberately. He stopped at a specific line, a timestamp, a command. My breath hitched. It was the activation code for Shadow Lock, our emergency system lockdown tool. The one David and I had coded ourselves, the one only we had access to. The one I remembered activating in a desperate adrenaline-fueled scramble right after I found him, right after everything went to hell. "See this?" Julian's voice was disturbingly gentle. He pointed a slender finger at the line, tracing it. "Shadow Lock activated. Good tool, by the way, very efficient." He paused, then his finger slid a few characters to the left. "But funny thing, Evelyn," his eyes, behind those thick glasses, were still bright, still unsettling. "It was activated from an off-site server, a remote access point, not from inside the Phoenix Protect office." My head tilted, a small involuntary shake. No, that couldn't be right. I was there. I did it. I remembered my fingers flying across the keyboard, the panic, the desperate need to stem the bleeding. Julian's finger moved again, a slow, torturous crawl along the line of text. And even funnier, look at the timestamp. He leaned closer to the screen, almost as if sharing a secret. This activation happened at 10:17 p.m. He straightened up, turned to me, that innocent smile still playing on his lips, but his eyes were like frozen chips of ice, reflecting something I couldn't grasp. My mouth hung open, useless, unable to form a single sound. A scream was trying to climb its way up my throat, but it was stuck, trapped behind a wall of pure, unadulterated terror. The horror of a truth I hadn't known, a memory stolen or replaced, it swallowed me whole. I stared at the screen, the green text mocking me. Each character, each number, felt like a nail being driven into my skull. My vision blurred, not from tears, but from the sheer, mind-bending horror of it all. I looked at Julian, my head slowly lifting. His eyes weren't innocent anymore, not even close. They were flat, cold. They reflected a truth that was bare, stripped of all sense, and utterly sickening. My mouth hung open, useless, unable to form a single sound. A scream was trying to climb its way up my throat, but it was stuck, trapped behind a wall of pure, unadulterated terror. The horror of a truth I hadn't known, a memory stolen or replaced, it swallowed me whole. Julian just smiled, a small, almost imperceptible tilt of his lips. He leaned in, his voice dropping, a soft, chilling whisper that somehow cut through the roaring fan of the servers and the frantic pounding in my ears. "If it wasn't that," he breathed, his eyes boring into mine, "then what was it, Evelyn?"